The resonance frequency. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her badge against the scanner and stepped into the control room overlooking the Large Hadron Collider's CMS detector. After 18 months at CERN, the familiar hum of superconducting magnets cooled to 1.9 Kelvin had once been as comforting as a cat's purr. Now it made her stomach clench with the same dread she'd felt as a child, listening to her grandmother's stories about La Llorona. Warnings wrapped in whispers. Beam energy at 6.8 teraelectron volts and climbing, announced her colleague, Dr. David Chen, his eyes fixed on the cascade of data streaming across multiple monitors. At 28, Chen was 2 years younger than Elena, but had been at the facility 3 years longer, ever since finishing his PhD at MIT. His methodical nature and dry humor had made the long night shifts bearable, but lately she'd noticed him checking the emergency protocols more frequently than usual. Luminosity looks good. We should achieve our target collision rate within the hour. Elena nodded, pushing a strand of dark hair behind her ear, a nervous habit her thesis advisor at Stanford had tried unsuccessfully to break her of. Her attention was drawn to an anomaly in the readouts she'd noticed 3 days ago, the same day her sister Carmen had called from Barcelona with news that their father's condition was worsening. Elena had been planning to request leave, to be with family during his final weeks, but this discovery had changed everything. The physicist in her couldn't walk away from data this extraordinary, even as the daughter in her whispered that some mysteries weren't meant to be solved. A subtle fluctuation in the electromagnetic calorimeter data, occurring precisely every 847 nanoseconds. The pattern was too regular to be random noise, too consistent to be equipment malfunction. "David, look at this." She highlighted the waveform on her screen, using his first name, something she only did when she was truly worried. They'd maintained professional distance for months after an awkward moment at the holiday party, but tonight felt different. "See this periodicity in the ECIL data? It's getting stronger with each run." He frowned, adjusting the wire-rimmed glasses that made him look more like a graduate student than a seasoned researcher. Chen had always been the skeptical one, the voice of reason when Elena's intuition led her down unconventional paths. It was a balance that had served them well, even if it occasionally frustrated her. Could be synchronous noise from the RF system, or maybe crosstalk between the detector channels. But Elena had already ruled out those possibilities. She'd spent the last 72 hours analyzing every conceivable source of interference, surviving on espresso and determination, while Chen had gone home to his small apartment and his collection of vintage science fiction novels, a hobby she'd discovered during one of their few personal conversations. The signal was real, and it was growing, and the obsessive part of her mind that had driven her through years of graduate work wouldn't let her sleep until she understood it. The first collision event of the evening appeared on their screens, 2 proton beams smashing together at nearly the speed of light, creating a brief shower of exotic particles. Muons, pions, kaons, all tracked by the detector's silicon strips and crystal arrays. Standard physics, except for the signal. "Jesus," Chen whispered, and Elena noticed his hands trembling slightly as he reached for his coffee cup, a ceramic mug decorated with Schrodinger's cat that his sister had sent from Beijing. Despite his usual composure, she could see the same mixture of excitement and fear in his dark eyes that she felt in her own chest. "Elena, look at the invariant mass spectrum." She was already looking, her heart racing with the kind of anticipation she hadn't felt since defending her dissertation on dark matter interactions. Among the expected particle signatures was something else, a resonance peak at 3.2 TeV that shouldn't exist. No predicted particle had that mass, and the cross-section was impossibly high. This was the kind of discovery that won Nobel Prizes or ended careers, depending on whether it could be replicated and verified. "Shut it down," she said quietly, the words coming from some deeper instinct that had nothing to do with her scientific training. "What?" Chen's voice cracked slightly. She'd never seen him truly rattled before, not even during the magnet quench incident that had shut down operations for 6 weeks. "Shut down the beam! Now!" Elena's grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. "Some doors, mija, are meant to stay closed." Chen's hand hovered over the emergency stop, years of protocols warring with the urgency in Elena's voice. "Elena, We can't abort a run based on... The lights flickered. Not the usual power fluctuation they occasionally experienced, but a rhythmic pulsing that matched the 847 nanosecond pattern exactly. The hum of the magnets deepened, becoming something felt in the bones rather than heard. The beam's accelerating on its own, Chen said, his voice rising. Magnetic field strength is increasing beyond design parameters. Elena's blood went cold as she watched the energy readings climb. 7 TeV, 8 TeV, 9 TeV. The collision rate was spiking exponentially. The detector was registering particle interactions that violated conservation laws, events that produced more energy than they consumed. We're creating a standing wave in space-time, she breathed, understanding flooding through her with horrible clarity. The regular collisions, the precise timing, we've established a resonance frequency with the quantum vacuum itself. The temperature readings from the beam pipe were climbing despite the cryogenic cooling system running at maximum capacity. Something was feeding energy back into the system, amplifying each collision, using the collider as a tuning fork to vibrate the very fabric of reality. Chen was frantically hitting switches, but the magnetic field wouldn't respond. The superconducting coils are locked in a persistent current loop. The field strength is beyond what the infrastructure can handle. Through the reinforced observation window, Elena could see a faint blue glow emanating from the beam pipe. Cherenkov radiation from particles moving faster than light could travel through the surrounding medium. But there was something else in that light, a depth that seemed to extend beyond the physical dimensions of the tunnel. The resonance peak on her screen was growing sharper, narrower, more intense. Whatever they had created was becoming more coherent with each passing second, like a laser made not of light but of the fundamental forces that held reality together. We need to flood the tunnel, Elena said, her training overriding her terror. Emergency helium quench. Everything at once. But as Chen reached for the controls, the screens went black. Not powered down, simply black, as if the very concept of electromagnetic radiation had temporarily ceased to exist in their vicinity. In that darkness, Elena could hear something vast and patient, breathing in rhythm with the 847 nanosecond pulse. When the lights returned 3 seconds later, the readings had stabilized. The beam energy was back to normal parameters. The mysterious resonance peak had vanished from the data as if it had never existed. But Elena noticed that her reflection in the monitor screen was lagging slightly behind her movements, and Chen's shadow was pointing in the wrong direction under the fluorescent lights. They filed their incident report as equipment malfunction, cause unknown. The review board accepted their recommendation to modify the collision timing protocols, introducing random variations to prevent synchronous effects. Elena never mentioned that she still heard the breathing sometimes, late at night in her studio apartment in Marin, keeping perfect time with a rhythm that matched the space between heartbeats. Or that when she looked at photographs of herself from before that evening, pictures Carmen had posted on social media of Elena's last visit home to Barcelona, the woman in the pictures seemed to be looking at something just outside the frame, something that hadn't been there when the photos were taken. Chen had requested a transfer to the theory division within a week, claiming he wanted to focus on computational modeling. But Elena had seen him in the cafeteria, staring at his reflection in the window with the same haunted expression she recognized in her own mirror. They'd exchanged polite nods, but never spoke about that night again, as if some unspoken agreement bound them to silence. The LHC continued its research, probing deeper into the mysteries of the universe. Elena stayed on, driven by an obsession she couldn't name, checking and rechecking the data from that evening. But she knew they had already found something, and worse, it had found them back. Sometimes during the long night shifts, she would catch herself unconsciously tapping her fingers in that 847 nanosecond rhythm and wonder if they had become tuning forks themselves, resonating with something vast and patient that had learned to breathe in sync with human heartbeats.